On today's Two on Your Side Town Hall, primary day in Western New York and all over the state. We're going to be chatting with our political analysts about what to expect on an important night for a handful of local elections.
Plus, when money disappears from your unemployment checks, you want an explanation. We're getting some answers.
And struggling to stay in business, the North Park Theater, part of a CNBC investigative report looking at entertainment venues and the government program that is supposed to help them recover from the pandemic. We'll show you that story and talk with the correspondent ahead.
And let's start with politics tonight, because even though the November election is more than 4 months away, at least one race could all but be decided tonight.
Yeah, it is primary day here in Western New York and across New York. And remember, if you are registered with a political party, you have until 9 o'clock tonight to vote in that party's primary. So the race that we mentioned that could be decided tonight is Buffalo mayor. That is because the winner will not have a Republican opponent. However, one thing to keep in mind is that Democratic challenger India Walton will be on the November ballot on the Working Families Party line.
We will also have an eye on the Republican and Democratic races for Erie County Sheriff. The winners will face off to replace the retiring Tim Howard and be Erie County's first new sheriff in 17 years. Yeah, we should be getting results from all of these races tonight, so we'll be updating them as they come in on WGRZ.com and sharing any big announcements on social media and at 10 and 11 o'clock tonight. But right now, we want to get ready for tonight with our political analysts, Ken Kruly, who is a Democrat, and Carl Calabrese, who is a Republican. We want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see both of you. Let's start with you, Ken, and the mayor's race. Mayor Byron Brown going for a fifth term against two people who have never held elective office. But it does seem like there's been, just a lot of coverage and discussion lately about this race. What do you think are the odds that we see some type of upset tonight?
Well, it's been a very interesting race in the sense that an independent candidate has raised a lot of money. She has been very actively campaigning. She has a big volunteer force. They've been making phone calls and doing other things. So I give her and her organization a lot of credit for what they've been doing. But the mayor has gone through this drill a number of times, and he's been successful each time. And I don't think that it's going to change much tonight. I think that the real difference is that the city is not actively engaged in any particular issue that is going to get people marching at the polls to say we've had enough of Byron Brown. And in the case of situations like that, it usually goes to the incumbent. So I expect the mayor to do well.
Over to you, Carl, in the Republican primary for Erie County Sheriff. There's been a bit of a divide in the party over the endorsed candidate, Karen Healy Case, and her opponent, John Garcia. Do you see that having any sort of impact today or in the general election down the line?
Well, it could. Republicans tend to avoid primaries. They really don't like them because the Republicans are a minority party in Erie County, down by about 139,000 votes in enrollment. So Republicans don't like primaries, and this one not only has occurred, but it's been a little nastier than Republicans are used to, with the gloves coming off with the two candidates. So I think it'll be incumbent upon the party leadership to make sure that, however this turns out tonight, that the party pulls together as quickly as possible and get ready to go into the fall election.
And Ken, on the sheriff's race, Republicans have held that office for close to a quarter of a century now, and rightly or wrongly, Democrats are not the party that is seen as pro-police right now. Is that all too much to overcome, regardless of who wins tonight?
I don't think that it's going to be a major issue going forward. Democrats, by and large, support the work of the police departments. They have some issues about how things are enforced, and we know that there's been examples of some real serious problems. Those need to be addressed, but I don't see that really interfering with this election. And I think going forward, we'll have a candidate who will present themselves well.
Finally, Carl, let me ask you, in both of those races, we've got some debate over the party-endorsed candidates versus the challengers. Just how important is the party choosing a preferred candidate? Does it have maybe the sway that it used to, or in the case of both of these races for sheriff, could we see the party-endorsed candidates not end up winning?
You could, and let me tell you, that is a real test of a party chair, either at the town level or the county level. When I first got involved in politics, I remember a very wise town chairman saying to me, the number one job of a chairman in a county or a town is to deliver the party's endorsement to the endorsed candidate during a primary. Otherwise, the party becomes irrelevant. Candidates say, I don't need you. I'll just get the endorsement in the primary. So it's not only a test for the candidates, in the arena, it's a test for the party leadership to see if they can deliver that endorsement. Because if they can't, it makes it tough going down the road to keep the party relevant to the people seeking its endorsement.
Yeah.
Ken Kruly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Before we go, I've just found out we've got another minute here. I want to ask both of you. We'll leave both of your microphones open. I guess Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz just tweeted out how low turnout has been, that we may end today with something lower than 20% of eligible voters. I mean, it doesn't even feel like an election out there, right? Although the weather, I think, feels a little more like November than it does June. But turnout tonight, thoughts about that?
I think that turnout's going to be very poor. It'll be somewhat better in Buffalo because of the mayor's primary plus primaries for city court judge. In the suburbs, there's only a handful of local offices on the ballot. And so I think the turnout in the suburbs will be particularly poor.
Carl?
And that's why primaries are notoriously difficult to predict winners, because it really doesn't matter how much you spend on advertising and that type of thing. It depends on what side gets their vote out in greater numbers. It's all about turnout tonight. So whatever side, Republican or Democrat, that has done a better job in identifying the prime voters, those are people who vote all the time. They're in every election. You identify them, have they mobilized them, and have they gotten them out to vote? That will determine who the winning candidates are tonight.
We have been chatting with and getting perspective from Ken Kruly and Carl Calabrese. They're political analysts. They'll also be joining us for our primary day coverage later tonight here on Channel 2. Thanks again to you both.
Thank you.
All right, coming up next on our town hall, your questions about unemployment benefits keep coming into our newsroom. And this week, people who have already repaid overpayments that they got last year by mistake are having their benefits reduced by 20%.
That came as a surprise to them, so they emailed to On Your Side's Kelly Dudzik, who joins us now with some answers and new information from the state tonight as well. Kelly.
Hi, Kate and Michael. This has just been a headache for people. It's happening to people from all over the state because they've been finding our stories online and emailing me. One person said the state still hasn't cashed their $1,200 repayment check and their benefits were reduced by 20% this week. They asked, what the heck are they doing? We looked into this in May, and the New York State Department of Labor told me then that checks would be cashed in 45 days. That 45 days passed, so last week we checked back in, and we were told the checks would be cashed in the coming business days. But yesterday, people started getting reduced benefits. Karen is from New York City. She lost her fitness business during the pandemic, so I talked with her today and asked her what she'd want to say to the Department of Labor.
I would tell them to cash the check and don't take my payments out. That's the way I would want to deal with it. And first of all, when I first got the letter, like everyone else, was shocked that they made a mistake and it was of no error. They say in the letter, it is no error of yours. If you want to contest it because you're in hardship, then please do so. So I said, you know what? I can't. I have enough going on. I'm just going to send the $600. I have the $600. I'm just going to send it back to them.
So we got some answers for Karen and everybody else today. The New York State Department of Labor says anyone who had the money taken out this week and already sent in checks for the full amount they owe will get a refund within a few days of their check processing, and checks are being processed now. They also said don't cancel your check. People were worried that they'd have to do that, then they'd be hit with fees for something that wasn't even their fault in the first place. This was not a mistake made by any of the people collecting their benefits. So now Kate and Michael, they just are having to deal with this hassle.
Yeah, and frustrated to say the least.
Yeah, I've gotten even more emails since our story aired at 4:30.
All right, thank you very much.